in our keynote discussion with Google. I'm Ginny Marvin. I cover paid search primarily for Search Engine Land, cover a lot of other paid media for Marketing Land. This is my colleague, Greg Sterling, who wants to tell a little bit about what you do.
I cover location-based media and marketing, mobile advertising, public policy a little bit, and some other stuff at the margin, small business advertising.
And we are very excited to have Jerry Dischler with us today. He's the VP of Search Ads at Google. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
That's pretty much.
Let's hear it for Jerry.
Yeah. So how this is going to work this morning? We have Babak Pahlavan from Google as well, who is going to be talking about analytics and making some announcements later this morning. So we're going to start. We're going to cover a lot of sort of the ads news, what's going on with search ads with Jerry, and then we'll bring Babak on. And then we also, at the end, we'll have a group Q&A, and the Q&A forum is open, so you can do the ask/keynote.
Can we see the URL?
Yeah, if you guys can bring up the URL, that'd be great.
That's the new term,
right,
URL.
Yeah.
The
like
successor to the URL.
Right. So yes, if you can you bring up the URL, please?
Are we going to do live questions as well from the audience?
No, we're going to try to keep it with time management.
Okay. All right.
The session hashtag is Keynote, and of course there's SMX as our main hashtag. And
there's the place to submit questions.
Fabulous. SMX Ask can be easier. So thank you to our Expo Hall reception sponsor, Stone Temple Consulting. Do a great job. And thank you very much to Bing last night for sponsoring another great Janes of Digital. So let's just dive right in, Jerry. So expanded text ads have started rolling out earlier this summer.
Yep.
And certainly a lot of people have started adopting them, testing with them, but a couple of weeks ago Google announced a delay in sort of the rollout and extinction of standard text ads. So you can talk a little bit about why that decision was made, and also I'd love to hear what you're seeing as far as for those advertisers that are diving right into expanded text ads, what you're seeing that's working, and how kind of adoption's going from people who are really getting it.
Sounds good. So expanded text ads overall is going well. We, as a group, are pretty, enthusiastic and optimistic and innovation oriented. And so we said, all right, we're going to change the creative format for the first time in 15 years or so, and it'll be great. And we'll get it right, and we won't need that old creative format. Everybody will transition really quickly, and everything will be fine. The truth is, that's not exactly happening as consistently as we had hoped for. So the advertisers who are really embracing expanded text ads are folks who are putting as much care as they did with their highly optimized traditional text ad creatives. And so they're doing things like testing multiple ETAs per ad group. They're doing things like having custom crafted creatives to each ad group. They're using a similar level of dynamic elements as they were in their standard text ad creatives, and in general, they're seeing great results. What a lot of folks who are doing who are not getting great results is they're sort of dipping their toe in the water. They're saying, okay, here's our ETA creative. We'll copy it to a bunch of different ad groups and see how it does. Or we're going to try one creative. Or we're not going to include dynamic elements. We're not going to do keyword insertion. We're just going to try it out and see what happens. And the truth is, if you're going to try something out and see what happens that isn't as targeted, that isn't as well optimized, that's competing with lots of other creatives that are targeted and are well optimized, it's not going to do very well. So what we're hoping is that folks will jump in with both feet, will really embrace it, and will employ the best practices that they had to get their great performance with their standard text ads And then we can turn off standard text ads and go directly to an ETA world. We're going to do that after the holiday season instead of before to give folks a little bit more time to get comfortable with the new format.
And if people aren't seeing click-through rate increases with expanded text ads, would you suggest that they're not doing it right?
Well, if they're not seeing click-through rate increases with their expanded text ads, then they should try more and different things that are consistent with the same kinds of best practices that they had in creating their text ads before. These kinds of changes are very subtle, as you've seen with your the kinds of changes that drive performance are very subtle, as you've seen with your standard text ads. So I would say keep testing and keep learning. Actually, one tip that I didn't mention that I will is that so with non-branded generic expanded text ads, we're seeing that there are really big differences in performance when you really have highly optimized both parts of the headline. In the case of branded terms, we're seeing shorter headlines perform better. So you may want to try shorter headlines for your branded terms to see if that improves your branded performance.
Great. One of the other big announcements earlier this year was the reintroduction of device bidding, and I think there's probably a lot of people who are very happy to see tablet bidding back. So yay, and thank you for that. Can you talk a little bit about why, about that decision to bring back separate device bidding, and how you expect to see advertisers implementing that, taking advantage of having tablets back and desktop and mobile also?
Absolutely, absolutely. And so what we're doing is, so we reintroduced it because what we were seeing is a number of advertisers come to us with, hey, here are use cases on mobile or tablet that are really, really different. And so one example is, in the travel industry. Let's say that you're in New York looking for New York hotels on your mobile phone, and versus you're in New York looking for New York hotels on your desktop. If you're on your mobile phone, you want to bid that up like crazy. You want to have very targeted creatives because it's very likely to convert. But if you're on your desktop, actually it's likely to have a lower conversion rate, and you may want to bid that down. You may want to have a more generic creative and try to expand the intent. And so that's just one example of folks who are saying, hey, we're really thinking in a very mobile-first way, and the tools that you have are just not capable of handling our use cases. And this was happening more and more. People who had, rather than in the pre-enhanced campaigns world, the thing that we were seeing is mobile avoidance. It's like, my customers are on mobile, but I may not have a great mobile website, and I'm just not going to worry about mobile. But what we're seeing here is the opposite. I've fully embraced mobile, and I'm trying to figure out how to make it work, but the controls that you have are not robust enough. So let me talk a little bit about sort of best and worst practices in device bidding. What is the best practice that we're asking folks to do, and what a lot of folks are doing, is this. Take a look at, so your current bids represent a blended ROI. If you are able to get better performance on desktop and you have slightly worse performance on tablet, let's say, then you should adjust those in a way which is symmetric. So you should increase your bids on desktop and you should decrease your bids on tablet. And in general, what you should be doing is looking at your blended target across all the platforms in order to set your bid, and then adjust up or down on a platform-by-platform basis in order to achieve the right ROI mix. So that's the best practice. The worst practice that we're seeing is people are saying, oh, I have tablet controls, I'm just going to bid that down and not adjust the rest. Because those folks are competing against folks who are doing the blended practice and are potentially increasing their desktop bids. And so over time, they're going to end up losing out. And you have to figure out on a per advertiser basis what's right for you. But I would encourage you to take a look at this in a blended way and to use the platform tuning knobs for subtle adjustments on top of your blended target.
So we want to talk a little bit about store visits because that's a really big deal. So Google announced at its GPS summit this summer that you were expanding store visits and that you had you had some very large number of advertisers over the past 2 years, 1 billion visits I think that had been measured.
That's right.
And which is quite impressive and near and dear to my heart as a person who covers location. So can you talk a little bit about where this is going, what the metrics are today, and why you think this is really important for the people in the room to understand, the online to offline stuff?
Sure. I mean, in this multi-device, mobile-focused world, you should be measuring your entire return on investment, whether it's online conversions on a single device, whether it's online conversions across device, or whether it's offline conversions or conversions through calls or other things like that. And we want to help you work in an omni-channel way and to measure the total value of your search ad spend. And so that's why we believe that offline is really important. And for many industries, in retail, where still 90+% of retail is offline, or in industries like automotive, for example, where 99.9% of all transactions are offline, really being able to unlock the full value and to measure that full value, can help you as a business create more effective advertising and get better ROI, a better view into your return on investment. For many advertisers, we're seeing actually that the offline benefit is higher than the online benefit that they get from their search ad spend, and that's really powerful. And we want you to be able to measure that in a way which is as easy as possible. So in the case of store visits, it just appears. Once we have the data, we make it available. We've now made that available to advertisers in 14 countries, up from 11, and now thousands of advertisers rather than over 1,000. So we're really expanding that program a lot. And advertisers are really starting to see great value in industries like autos and telecom and retail. And we intend to expand that. Something that Brad Bender announced earlier this week was that we're expanding this from search to display. And we're going to continue to expand the footprint. And we're hoping that what we can do is create an offline measurement solution that works across all of Google's ads.
Can you just real quickly refresh people's memory about what the methodology is? How do you get this offline data? Just real quickly at high level.
Yes, I'll talk about store visits a little bit. What we basically do is we have hundreds of millions of people who've opted in to location history. We take the location history data in an anonymized and privacy-sensitive way, and we aggregate it. Then we also have additional signals that we bring in. Some of those are from Google Maps, for example. We have hundreds of millions of buildings where we've made 3D models of those buildings across the world. We use that in order to improve precision. We use Wi-Fi data and other data. And in addition to that, we also have over 5 million human reviewers who use the Google Consumer Surveys app. And if we're really uncertain of a location, then we go and ask the human reviewers, hey, are you inside a particular business location? And then we take those data and we feed them back into our algorithms in order to further improve our precision. So we have this very sophisticated multi-pronged approach that we use in order to measure store visits. And we're pleased to report that we have over 99% accuracy in our store visit measurement solution.
Well, I could go on and on about this stuff, but we have more ground to cover, so back to you, Ginny.
So audience targeting, there's been lots of developments in ways that search marketers can start taking advantage of audience targeting, not solely, specifically keyword targeting. So a couple of things that have been sort of teased so far, and I know have been in beta, are demographic targeting. Similar audiences for search ads have both been discussed as coming out of being in beta. Can you talk a little bit about what each of those, how they each work, and what they mean for marketers, and also what we might expect coming down the pike from an audience targeting standpoint?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have some product announcements, so that's good. So let's talk about our audience suite in search ads. The first thing that we have is remarketing list for search ads, and that has been a runaway success. Advertisers who are using RLSA have said that multiple advertisers have told me that this is the biggest single change that we've made to search advertising over the past 5 years in their ability to better target to their customers and get better ROI out of search, which is really wonderful to hear. The other thing that's interesting is I still talk to large and sophisticated advertisers all the time who either aren't using RLSA or have limited use of RLSA. So if you're in that camp, I would highly encourage you to experiment with RLSA at minimum. So remarketing list for search ads is the first product. The second product that we have is customer match. And remarketing list for search ads is designed for instantaneous intent. So if you go to an advertiser website, within a certain time period, then we can add you to a list, and then you can manage your search spend based on that. What Customer Match is designed to do is if you have customers that have interacted with you and you have their email address, whether it's offline interaction or online interaction, you can now target them on search using those email addresses as targeting criteria. And that's really, really powerful. It's also really powerful in this online to offline cross-device world because that means that you now have persistent customer IDs that you can use for your existing customers using your first-party data. Similar Audiences was currently in a closed whitelist beta. We're currently, the thing that I'm going to announce today is that we're transitioning that to an open beta. What that'll do is if you have lists that you've assembled, you can then extend them to similar audiences. And what we'll do is try to find people who have similar behavior on Google to the folks on those lists. And so folks in the closed beta who have been using similar audiences have seen really great results and are really enthusiastic about it. So I would highly encourage you to try that out. Around the final thing that I'll mention in our audience suite is demographics. We've had this in open beta for a while. I'm pleased to say that demographics are going to be released today or over the next few days. And what demographics will allow you to do is to target age ranges, gender, and household income, which is wonderful. A couple of additional announcements that we have around RLSA. The biggest single request that we had in remarketing lists for search ads is, hey, can I manage this at the campaign level? Because the ad group level is too fine-grained based on my marketing objectives. We're going to make that available over the coming next few weeks. So you'll be able to manage RLSA at the campaign level, which I expect for a lot of advertisers is going to save a lot of time. We also are announcing the availability over the next few days of cross-device RLSA. Pardon me. So rather than managing your list on a single device, we'll be able to target users across devices, which will make RLSA even more effective.
Great, and that follows on the opening of cross-device retargeting on the display network as well.
I believe so, but I'm not 100% sure.
So, fantastic. That's exciting stuff. So the similar audiences for search, can you just talk a little bit about what that methodology is? Are you looking at other search queries? What kind of behavior metrics are you looking at to make those matches?
So today we're looking at searches, but the truth is, we believe that we're going to be able to just make that. So what we've heard from folks is that it's pretty good right now, but we're hoping that we'll be able to make that better and better over time using a whole number of different signals in order to get you populations that are as similar as possible to the users in your list. So. And
one last question, sorry. Can you layer demographic targeting with search, similar audiences for search? Are you able to kind of fine-tune search, similar audiences for search with demographic targets as well? Kind of.
Not currently. I mean, okay. Currently we offer similar audiences for using customer match and RLSA, not with additional demographic criteria at this point.
Okay, thanks.
We could go much farther, but well, let me ask you about there's a cluster of local things really quickly, and then we'll go to the analytics discussion. There's a cluster of local ad units and capabilities that were introduced earlier, local finder ads, promoted pins, store inventory, that kind of stuff. Can you give us an update on what's going on with that mix of location targeted units and capabilities?
Yeah, for local, I mean, for local Finder ads and promoted pins, those are experiments that we're running right now, and the experiments are going pretty well, but they're not in broad availability yet. Our general thesis is, so what we've shown in our online to offline measurement is that online advertising is driving people into stores. And the question is, can we create more effective formats in order to drive even more people into stores, in order to generate even more user and advertiser value? And so that's what we're doing with these maps-oriented formats. We have the ads in the place sheets. We have promoted pins. We also have redesigned. We've redesigned our core search ad format on maps, and we've added a couple of new formats within local universal. And so this is an area where we're going to have lots and lots of investment because we think that we can really do a better job of driving people into stores via these formats. Local inventory ads is a little bit more established. For example, Best Buy drove 1 million incremental store visits over the holiday season last year using local inventory ads, which is really, really impressive. And we expect to evolve that format as well to help people browse and shop more effectively during this holiday season as well as in the future.
One quick follow-up surprise question about ads in the local pack. So that was announced, and people have seen different configurations. Can you say anything about where that stands in the local pack on search results?
Yeah, well, there are two different iterations. One of them is in experiment currently. The other one is launched. The launch configuration shows up once you've expanded the full list in local universal. The one that's currently in experiment is showing up as an entry within local universal before the expansion. And so
that's the experimental one.
That's correct. And we want to make sure that that has good metrics before we launch it. But there's every indication that that's going to go well.
So determined or undetermined, how many spaces there, how many slots there? So it's like an ad.
There's just one. Yeah.
One ad, but how many organic listings in the local pack?
I believe it's 2 or 3.
Yeah, because we've seen both, 2 and 3. Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jerry.
You're very welcome.
We're going to have Babak come on up, and we'll call you back up for Q&A.
Sounds great.
Welcome, Babak.
Good morning. Thanks for
Very
having
happy
us.
to have you. Very happy to talk about analytics, which ties so well into everything all of us do, whether or not you're on the organic or paid side. Not that, I guess we don't have sides, but yeah.
Oh, yes, we do.
Right.
SEO,
Yes.
SEM.
Bridegroom, SEO, SEM. So Babak is the Managing Director of Measurement and Analytics at Google. And so we have a lot to ask you. There's been a lot of developments going on in analytics. I get the biggest one probably was Analytics 360, and I know you wanted to ask about that.
I'm dying to ask you questions about Analytics 360. Well, let's just see from the room, how many people are using any of the modules in Analytics 360?
How many are using analytics?
Everybody. Right?
Fabulous.
All right.
Okay. So this is relevant information.
Yes.
Indeed.
And we got into analytics to some degree with Jerry. So some people are using individual modules. Some people are using the full suite. There's a free version of Data Studio. Can you explain Data Studio and its intent and what's going on with that?
Yeah. So Data Studio is our dashboarding and reporting tool that we launched earlier in the year. That sort of makes it. I mean, there are 2 fundamental things about it that people have told us that they love, and it was based on sort of a lot of research that we did ahead of time in order to figure out what are the problems that we need to tackle. So the 2 really sort of interesting things about Data Studio is you can be up and running to do reporting pretty quickly by just connecting to the data sources. Sort of we're going after this problem of instead of just if you want to actually pull everything together, especially if you're using Google Analytics, AdWords, Sheets, things like BigQuery that actually allows you to bring your own data sets inside of it. YouTube data and whatnot, instead of actually exporting into another sheet in order to combine the data in order to actually do some dashboarding and reporting. With Data Studio, it's just super easy to just connect to those and then pull it all together. That's one. And the second thing about it is the notion of collaboration and sharing, which, I mean, a lot of the tools that are out there, they actually do have sharing. You can actually export your data sets and actually share with your organization. But the notion of collaboration is something that we really focused on, just like Google, just like what we have in Google Docs and Drive. You can easily share, put together a report, share it with the organization, and then really together collaborate on building the rest of it. So you can actually crowdsource the information across the organization and really make this data available not just to the analysts in the organization, but also everybody else as well. We announced and we launched the 360 version, the enterprise version of it for US only, and also the free version early in the year. And in about, I think it's in a few minutes, we're announcing the global rollout of Data Studio, both the enterprise version and also the free version in 21 countries as of today.
Why wait a few minutes? Why not talk about it right now?
I think it's already on the blog post. We already launched it at 9. But ultimately, even if it's, we announced it in the US, we wanted to actually learn from the experience over here before we were sure that we were ready for a global rollout. And yeah, the reception has been great.
So you've got some more free tools coming. Is that right?
Yes. We announced Optimize 360, the enterprise version of our A/B testing and personalization tool, early in the year. And our objective is really to enable measurement for all businesses, regardless of the size. Because ultimately, I mean, for all of you guys in the room, it's all about sort of creating the best experiences possible for your end users. So today we're announcing the free version of Optimize. That's going to roll out in the next few weeks. We actually have a sign-up sheet for people that are interested to get the invite. It's on g.co/optimize. That you can actually get on the list, and we're rolling it out gradually. And it's really set up to really help businesses of all sizes, small and large. It natively integrates with Google Analytics. So for all the people who raise their hands that they're already using Google Analytics, it works seamlessly out of the box. If you already set up your conversions and goals inside Analytics, you can easily bring them inside Optimize and be up and running with tests and ultimately personalized to the right users pretty quickly. It has a Visivik editor, so it's not meant just for the developer community, but also it's meant to be used by marketers, essentially. And we had a few case studies that actually
so you told us an interesting story ahead of the session today. I mean, can you tell the audience about that and how this one company was using it?
Yeah, actually there were two that actually comes to mind. One is Motley Fool, which a lot of you guys might be familiar with. It's a publisher finance site. They were telling us that they run a lot of tests, and usually with the tools that they were using, it would take them days because they would have to set up the goals and conversions and analytics and then bring them inside another separate tool. Now, to our delight, they told us now they run these things in minutes. So days went down to the minutes. That was on Motley Fool. The other one is really caught our attention was our friends on SMX. They're actually a really cool company. I was telling you about it. They're an online retailer of precious stones, like silver and gold coins, if anyone's in the market to buy gold. I know actually I've bought a gold coin from them myself. There is, so they were able to, they're using Optimize 360, and they were able to double their revenue for new users. Because we're able to look at, for instance, they were telling us their objective is to create a different set of experiences for collectors versus people that are just like me who are just interested to just buy one coin. So in particular, they were able to, for example, for silver coin enthusiasts who were searching on their websites, and they were actually had some engagement on Google Analytics. To be able to double the revenue for those folks by creating a separate experience and offering limited time discounts.
So this is a personalized experience on their website that they're building and testing.
Yes, and it's seamless. So you can look at your engagement in Google Analytics and then create a set of different experiences in Optimize, test. Once they reach a certain confidence interval, they can actually let it run the rest of it essentially for you and continuously optimize for those cohorts of users.
And that's rolling out globally?
So that's
or the invite is available globally?
The invite is available today, and the objective is to roll out the free version of Optimize starting next month globally. It's going to be a gradual rollout, but it'll be done this year. So it's g.co/optimize.
G.co/.
That's exciting. So I wanted to talk about SMART goals, which I guess they were announced, was it earlier this year or last year? Okay. Which were created for AdWords advertisers to be able, that don't have goal tracking or conversion tracking set up, to be able to take advantage of crowdsourced machine learning feature in analytics that will help kind of inform the marketer sessions that likely could have converted, right? And can you just talk a little bit more about how SMART Goals works and what kind of businesses are using them? And the other thing I've noticed is that even in analytics accounts that already have conversion tracking set up, there's that SMART Goals report, there's data in there. What is that, and is there a way for marketers that are using conversion tracking to use, or is there value in that for marketers that are already using?
That's a great question. So we have a set of investments around how to leverage Google's machine learning capabilities to make sort of businesses a lot more efficient on leveraging the data sets that they have. So SMART Goals is actually one of those that we announced earlier in the year. And it's already being used by tens of thousands of advertisers of all sizes. So it's not just it's not geared just toward SMBs, but also large scale advertisers that are omnichannel use them as well. In particular, to your question, it is if you're a website with a lot of e-commerce data, you should continue to use that data set inside AdWords for optimizations. SMART Goals is especially helpful for two categories of customers. If you have some e-commerce data, but you don't have a whole lot of data that you can use inside AdWords for optimizations, or if you just don't have any e-commerce transaction data. The system automatically creates a set of goals that can be used to improve conversions. And that's especially interesting because we even have this feature set up for people who are not even using it correctly, but they can actually look at a preview of performance when you go to inside Google Analytics, that SMART Goals performance report. You can actually get a preview of what the performance could look like. And it's a tool that we highly recommend everyone to use it, because you let the power of machine learning figure out what are the goals that you can just set up in order to actually optimize your campaigns that otherwise you would just miss out of. And we have a series of investments in this realm. We announced a new feature inside Google Analytics called Session Quality Score that is sort of exposing more of the underlying technology behind SMART Goals. We're now exposing sort of a score for every single session that a system captures, and a score shows a likelihood of conversion. Now, this is one of the few things that you can just say, like, yeah, only machines can actually do these things at scale, and no human being will be able to actually do this, these kind of things. Because now you can actually determine, and it's available not just for reporting, but also for remarketing as well. So you can have a set of sessions that it says, okay, there's a high likelihood they would convert. They haven't converted just yet. So now either you can create different experiences to increase the conversions on the website or your app, or you can actually reach out to those users via remarketing.
And so Session Quality Score is in regular, in both versions, free and
correct.
paid?
It's rolling out in beta, yes.
Okay, it's rolling out in beta. And follow up on that. So what kind of metrics are going, or behavior patterns are being looked at? Like, I know there are a number of marketers that set up sort of their own goal for quality visitor, or whatever you want to name it, that looks at, okay, let's try to identify kind of the same thing. What users that look to have high intent and consideration, so whether that's session duration, pages visited, those kinds of things that you can kind of intuit that these are higher quality than people that come and spend a shorter amount of time. So what kind of things is the new metric looking at?
So it's not looking at just one thing. It's looking at pretty much every single data set that's available to us for that particular advertiser, and it actually does a set of sort of an automatic model detection and sort of a score detection. It runs multiple tests and it looks at in the previous sort of conversions what has led to those conversions, and it tries to actually mimic those, and then it runs a statistical model on top of those to come up with a score essentially. And it's running it continuously. So we're looking at a series of signals per business, essentially. And that's the beauty of sort of machine learning, because you let it do its thing, and then it's eventually it's doing things that you haven't programmed it to do, but it's ultimately learning on its own.
And then you can take that and use that as a list for our list. Say, for example.
Right, I was going to ask a question. Similar audiences, all of those kinds of things.
Yes, so we have GA RLS support. So you can actually create a sort of audience list and then push it to AdWords. So the same thing can actually be used here as well, essentially. So if you can use it for, right now it's available in GA custom reports, a segmentation tool that you can use it in order to build your marketing lists. And eventually it's going to be available throughout the rest of the product as well.
Great. The other thing I thought was interesting that came out earlier this year was the AutoTrack library of plugins that's for marketers that don't have access to Tag Manager, aren't using it, don't have customizations of their GA setups, and without having to do a whole lot of complex coding, you basically can take a plugin. So there's a plugin to easily track outbound links and form submissions, so it makes event tracking much easier. So can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, there was a lot of interest when we first covered that.
You did,
so
yes.
I'm curious to see if it's actually been popular, if it's been expanded, or is the core library sort of set? Or are there going to be developments in this area?
So this is sort of the beauty of Google, because you have a set of really smart engineers that actually are constantly creating new tools for developers. So auto tracking is an example that it was a project that was built specifically for very sophisticated advanced users, and it was a developer tool. So it exceeded our expectation big time, and it's starred on that project list so many times, and it's been shared so many times. So it's for the developer community, and it's customers that have used those and they've already deployed those on their websites are sending us millions of hits on a daily basis to analytics. But for customers that are a little bit more advanced and they need more collaboration tools and they need more sort of ways of sort of controlling the process of how things get deployed on their sites, we highly recommend them to use Google Tag Manager. That works seamlessly with Google Analytics, essentially. Pretty much everything you can do with auto tracking, you can actually do it in Google Analytics and Google Tag Manager as well. Either we are the event tracking that GTM supports out of the box, or using sort of the data layer sort of push sort of system that we enable that can actually push events either via custom JavaScript tags or use our sort of templates that we use for third-party partners inside Google Tag Manager. We have a whole list of supported tags that we support out of the box. In fact, today we're announcing another roughly 20 additions to that list for Tag Manager. Customers such as sort of Quantcast, Bing, Twitter, Nielsen, Hotjar, and a few other things are actually supported out of the box inside Google Tag Manager. We highly recommend customers to take a look at those.
Okay, great. And so, excuse me, if you have, if you've set up a custom HTML tag for, say, Twitter, for example, or Bing, should you just leave that there, or should you come back in and use the plugin? Do you know what I mean? Should you, or does it? I mean, it doesn't matter technically, but I mean, is there any reason to do that?
So they really have to take a look at it. So like if Google Tag Manager gives you a whole set of tools to be able to monitor the events that are coming in and be able to control those programmatically from the server side. So if you're using auto event, sort of the library that we released, like you don't have a whole lot of those things. You have to go back and update your sites over and over again, essentially, if you want to make some changes to it. So it's really up to sort of how you want to handle this thing. But we recommend customers use Google Tag Manager as much as possible because pretty much the same capabilities are available in that tool, but even more, and even more control is given to you.
And more customizations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Correct.
Thanks.
So sort of quick final question before we go to audience Q&A. I was looking at the questions. We have quite a few. Can you talk for a minute? So the Google Analytics mobile app was launched, and you've recently had these insight cards in the app. Can you talk about what those are and how they should be used, how people can get the most value out of that?
Yes, you're talking about the analytics insights that we announced a few weeks ago. So it's again in the bucket of our efforts around leveraging Google's machine learning technologies in order to actually make life a lot easier for marketers. We announced this. It's available inside our app, our Google Analytics app for both iOS and Android, the redesigned version of it. But eventually will be available on the website, in the web tool as well. It looks at a series of signals, and it tells you things like, for example, like products that are performing much better like this week or much worse this week as opposed to last week, or like this month versus last month. It actually looks at all the permutations automatically. Or for instance, a whole series of other things like what are the channels that are performing or outperforming or underperforming that are exceeding or missing the expectations. What are the areas that you can actually should pay attention to more and whatnot. In fact, right before I came on stage, I was checking out the tool for one of our test sites. We have an e-commerce site inside Google that we use for the souvenirs and stuff that we sell to Googlers. We manage that side, the analytics side of it. And I just realized, it only took me just a few seconds right before I came on stage to look at it and realize that the site speed in India is somehow crashing and burning. Like it's actually loading twice as slow as the rest of the global system that we have. And that's something that would have taken us probably like weeks or months to catch that, unless somebody complains about it, right? And these systems are now smart enough to actually tell us these things and bring those to our attention, as quickly as possible.
So it's looking at it's looking at everything. How can it be looking at absolutely everything, all aspects of performance? Can you just elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, I mean it's the power of machine learning ultimately, right? It's you're looking at all the sort of metrics and also segments you've enabled and that you're interacting with the product. And it looks at sort of the before and after. Like
so those are all predefined in the system?
No, it's actually learning on its own. It's actually learning not just what's popular, but also across sort of the set of properties that we have available. And it looks at it goes beyond just anomaly detection. It doesn't look at just spikes. It actually looks at sort of what are the interesting patterns that are forming that you should pay attention to. The ultimate goal is to actually create some sort of an analysts, and be able to really expand the set of analysts you have in your organization, or even give you an analyst when your company is small enough you can afford an analyst, essentially. We're trying to really go after that model, and it really ties back into our mission of really enabling measurement for all businesses of all sizes across the globe. And this is, again, one of those things in the series to really help us get closer to our vision.
Is Jerry in the house?
Jerry.
Oh, there he is.
Yeah, for anyone who hasn't used that, looked at the insights, it's under the assistant section in the apps, and I highly recommend checking it out because it's pretty fascinating. Well, quick for Jerry, will extended text ads be available for call-only ads?
Will ETA be available for call-only ads? We're working on a new headline format for call-only, actually, that will look similar to ETA. We've just been reviewing designs. We have a couple of other design changes for call-only ads that we're in the process of testing out that we think will actually improve the performance a bunch too. So stay tuned for that.
I think we've seen some in testing, right? I think
We've been testing the call-only format. We've been testing a bunch of different variations for the call-only format, so you've probably picked up 2 or 3 of those.
Yes, there are some questions that will make you smile in there.
Yes. So a question about Keyword Planner and the changes that have happened there. Do you want to talk about sort of the thoughts behind why Keyword Planner changed as far as the data availability for non-paying customers who don't have active campaigns. You want to just touch on that for?
Yeah, I mean, we really talked about it in a little bit of detail on the thread. That we had, we had this situation where what we wanted to do was to have good actors be able to use our keyword planning tools and keep some bad actors out who are using the tools. The way that we've set it up right now, our limits are really low. And so the vast majority of advertisers who have any active spend should be able to use our keyword planning tools. And then also with agencies who are representing advertisers, we should be able to accommodate. We should be able to accommodate most use cases while keeping the bad actors out. If there are certain use cases that are still not well encapsulated by the changes that we've made, please let me know, and I'll see if we can work something additional out. But really, our goal was not to inconvenience folks who were legitimate users of the system for SEM purposes, but to keep some bad actors out.
Thanks. Question for Babak. Does Google Analytics have a plan to better address refer spam?
So yes, we have an active project internally that it's not even just planned, it's actually been ongoing for quite some time, that we combat spam traffic, and we try to actually get it out of the system. And we've had quite a bit of success already with it. The stats, we don't share the stats externally, but this is something that we take pretty seriously, and we are really, we are in the business of making sure that people have access to the best quality measurement data. Yeah. So yeah, we're constantly monitoring, and there's, speaking of to pick it up on Jerry's points, there are bad actors out there that are trying to actually abuse these systems. Yeah. So yeah, we have. I don't know, have you guys seen improvements on your guys' side? I hope.
It's like 18 months.
I'd be.
If there's an alternative at some point, Facebook will roll out an alternative. Seriously, it's like, as if you guys aren't even saying that.
So he's just saying that he's not seeing any improvement.
So I would love to talk to you about it actually afterwards, about this, because it's something that we do take pretty seriously, and our stats show that actually the spam traffic that we're detecting has gone down pretty significantly. But I'd be curious to know what is happening in your specific case. To filter the traffic, yeah. Okay. But yeah, I would love to actually talk to you more about it. Yeah. Send me an email. These are things that we take pretty seriously. Yeah.
So this is for both of you. Can you do a quick, there were a lot of announcements just made. Can you kind of do a quick recap? We'll start with Jerry on what you just announced and kind of the new takeaways for people that are here on this.
Sure, so product feature announcements are all in the audience category. So remarketing, cross-device remarketing list for search ads, RLSA at the campaign level, demographics for search ads launch, and similar audiences in open beta were the 4 announcements. In terms of stats announcements, the 2 were that we now have thousands of advertisers using store visits, and they're in 14 countries, up from 11 countries in the previous stat.
Thanks.
Yeah, on our side, we announced 4 things this morning. One is the free version of Optimize is announced today. The invite list is open, so we're trying to actually roll it out globally. So again, g.co/Optimize, go sign up there if you're interested in using the free version of Optimize. Data Studio was US-based only. We're actually going global with it as of today for both the enterprise version of the 360 as well as the free version. We announced the beta rollout of Session Quality Score, which is the underlying technology for smart goals that actually allows you to look at sessions that are likely to convert. So you can actually start using those to either personalize the experiences on the websites or re-engage with these users via remarketing. And the 4th one was about Tag Manager. So we announced roughly about 20 new tags that are added to a long list of already vendors that we support, on top of the custom JavaScript tags that we support already in Google Tag Manager. And you can use those out of the box right away as well. So those are the 4 things we announced today.
Great, thank you. That was very helpful.
So question for Jerry. This person is asking, are we ever going to see store visits for channels outside of paid search? So referral, direct, email.
We're not planning on. So channels outside of paid search, yes. As with Brad's announcement, we're expanding that to display, and we expect to expand it further. As far as expanding it to emails or affiliate or things of this nature, we have no plans to announce it at this time to expand it further to those channels.
How, for Babak, how effective are SMART goals for non-retail customers, non-retail advertisers?
Yeah, I mean, it is designed for those cohorts of sort of customers that don't have e-commerce transactions. So we haven't sort of shared the stats in terms of like how it's improving the conversions, but the fact that it's already, so when I think as Paul announced, when we were at GPS early in the year, we announced there was like roughly 60,000 advertisers were using those already. We're up by 50%. I think we're about 90,000 advertisers using it today. So enough people are seeing value out of it that actually they're up in the usage. And again, just to recap, it's for advertisers who either don't have enough e-commerce transactions to use those for optimizations inside AdWords, or for advertisers who just don't have e-commerce transactions at all. And then it automatically creates goals for you that you can actually use for optimizations.
So 2 quick questions for you again. People want to know the sign up for Optimize 360, the URL.
So it's g.co, it's a short form URL for Google, so g.co/optimize.
Yeah, never can hear that enough, I suppose.
No problem. I'm happy to repeat it as many times as possible.
Okay, and then Data Studio. What are the data sources that go in? And the question here is, are you planning to add additional data sources to Data Studio?
That's a great question. So for those who've used Data Studio, you've noticed that we've really tried to simplify this workflow. We have a notion of data sources that you just connect to. So as of today, we're covering Google Analytics, AdWords, YouTube, BigQuery, Sheets, and also SQL sort of data sources that you can actually connect to it directly by putting your authentication username, passwords, and credentials. Yes, we actually have sort of a standing team that's working on adding more connectors as we go forward. And you're going to see those rolling out in the next few weeks. One of the things that's actually interesting about Data Studio, if we get a chance to talk about, is the notion of templates also. So it's rolling out later in October. Just like how you have templates inside Sheets and Docs and sort of Drive tools that are out there, you can simply use one of our predefined tools for predefined reports for visualization inside Data Studio. You just connect your data source, choose the template, and then you'll be up and running with a report. That's professionally designed already by the team.
And I think it's 5 reports now per account. Is that going to stay, or will that expand?
We're monitoring it. We're monitoring the usage of it. Our objective is to really democratize access for measurement across all our organizations. So if we see a demand that actually is for users that need more reports, they can actually have more. So we'll see.
Right. This is a question for both. Can you talk about the differences between creating remarketing audiences in AdWords versus relying on them in GA? Are there benefits or anything unique to using GA? But I guess remarketing audiences in AdWords. Well, I think I'm not sure actually now the question. I was going to talk about conversion tracking. If there is anything you want to talk about for audiences. But
you can use your GA list in AdWords, so
right.
it's really kind of up to you.
So
I guess the main point is inside. So they're complementary. You ultimately create this audience list and you push it to AdWords to do the optimizations there. But within GA, you have this sort of 500 plus metrics and segments that you can actually then go a lot deeper. So users who came to my site to spend more than 10 minutes, I ended up adding some to the shopping cart, and they didn't check out. So So create me a list of those, and then every time you observe those, and then I want to opt my bids inside AdWords. So that's the kind of thing you can do.
Right, and so now you can use the retargeting lists
Correct.
for search ads pulled from, and so the benefit is deeper ability to control what those targeting lists are.
You can. It assists you in managing finer grained lists. You could do that. You could do that all yourself, but GA helps you set that.
Yeah.
GA goes much deeper in terms of metrics that are related to your apps or your website.
Yeah, and then kind of tied to that, so some people just rely on sort of the Google Analytics tracking for conversions and goals versus implementing the AdWords pixel. So what do you recommend? Do you recommend having both for no matter who you are, everyone should have both? Or are there cases where it doesn't really matter if you have the AdWords pixel if you're using analytics?
So yeah, I mean, I'll take a stab at it.
Well, I mean,
yeah.
So there's lots of AdWords functionality that relies on AdWords conversion tracking, and so we recommend implementation for that. In fact, so our automated bidding, for example, so being able to get the AdWords stats directly in AdWords front end is a nice benefit, but then also we rely on AdWords conversion tracking for doing automated bidding, which is extremely powerful and something that I'd recommend everybody at least try out.
Yeah, I mean, they have complementary use cases again. There's AWCT, which actually it gives you a lot more access to optimizations inside AdWords, and then you can then set up your regular set of goals that are related to your site that are specific. And then if you choose to use it for conversion optimizations, you can actually then bring it inside AdWords directly. And that's the power of this integration between these tools. They're native.
We have about 25 more questions. I'm going to combine them all into one.
It's 6 minutes.
What is the future at Google? No. I don't know how to handle this because there are a lot of very, very specific questions. I'll read a few of them, and you guys can, in the remaining 30 seconds we have, you can answer whatever you want. Are there plans? Let me just read a bunch of these. Are there plans, so the audience can hear, are there plans to further expand the paid SERP, real estate, pushing the organic down the page? So some people are making commentary in these questions. What was the thought process behind providing SV ranges for users, not running campaigns in keywords planned?
I'm not sure I understand that one.
Yeah, no, I don't either.
Should I answer the first one, or should I talk about like
go ahead. Go ahead in the first one.
Ads inside self-driving cars on Mars? No. So the first question was again.
Are you going to add more and more ads, and the organic is going to disappear essentially?
No, we have no plans to add additional ad slots. I mean, it took us 15 years to add a 4th ad slot in very, very, very small number of highly commercial use cases when quality is high enough. One thing that I will say is that we have a challenge when we have to deliver richer units on the page with how much space do we take up relative to organic content. The way that we think about that is especially on mobile, is based on a full page view. So how much organic content do you have versus how much ad content do you have, not necessarily what's in the viewport. The reason that we think about it that way is because the evidence that we have suggests that people scroll effortlessly on mobile devices. And so, we have this, we don't want to put ourselves into an over-constrained state. So, for example, let's say that you have an ad unit which has an image or a video in it or some structured data in it, right? So you can show that ad unit, which is relevant and great for mobile users and converts well and is highly informative. Or you could not show it because it takes up too much vertical space. The truth is, the organic units within that context for a highly visual or highly data-oriented query will also be taking up more vertical space. And so we may develop units in the future that take advantage of that by presenting those data. And so how we have to think about this is based on the entire page and the vertical space taken up by organic content versus ad content, and the relevance of the data that we present in a format that makes the most sense.
how much more time do we want to spend here? What's our, we're over time, in fact. You guys want to sit here for another half an hour? We could certainly go on, for sure. Why don't we let them wrap up, and I apologize that we didn't get to everybody's questions.
Well, no, it's great that everyone has so many questions. And thank you very much to Jerry and Babak. This was a fantastic session. And thank you all for coming.
Thank you.